What's going on, everybody? We got a late night Spike Week stream here, and we are got a special guest here. Baseball, as we know him, we don't even know his. We still don't even know his actual name here, so we'll probably get that reveal on here too. But we got Nez as well. But we're going to be doing a little pennant action here, MLB playoffs, stuff that we only touched on once in a Spike Week stream. We have a little article out, and otherwise, if you're not in the Spike Week channel, I don't know if there's really other chatter going around for this contest. So this is going to be the only place that you can get this at the moment, and it's going to be awesome. So, Nez, how you doing?
Doing great, man. Third and final stream of the day. I'm going strong. It's been a blast, and finishing up with my one true love, baseball. So this guy's the go-to, but the sport is my baby. So this is a blast, man. I'm a little. It's been a minute since I hopped in this contest. I'm not gonna lie. So this is gonna be like a fun little refresher on things, and I'm excited to scratch this itch once again. But baseball, what's up, brother?
Not too much. Thanks for having me on, guys. This is awesome. Feels like ages ago that the season was just starting back in March. Hopped in the Discord for the first time, and away we go. Some colorful screenshots, and you get on the stream. But yeah, no, real name's Chris, so feel free to
gotcha.
Throw that out there if you want. But yeah, the baseball thing's been out there for a while, so that's kind of the deal at the moment. Brought something for Nez. I brought props.
Oh wow,
we got PNC Park here.
What? Oh yeah. Man, that's crazy.
Back in the heyday of the McCutcheon Pirates era.
Oh man, you're gonna bring I'm tearing up right now, man. That was
saw a game 15 rows behind the plate. Beautiful. So
that is the spot. That is the spot to see a Pirates game at PNC. I'm so glad. So you got to experience it, huh?
I did. It was a good time.
Awesome.
I am a Jays fan from Toronto, and all we have is the Rogers Center. So it's
it's not too far. People don't realize how kind of close they are. Just right over Lake Erie.
It's really not that bad, but yeah, different view, different vibe in the two places, I will say.
Definitely. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah. So that's gonna make me want to go get all my McCutcheon gear when I was a Pirates fan. No.
Well, come on, let's go.
Yeah. But so let's just dive right into this, huh? So I mean, we already touched on the basics. For anyone new here, we're gonna share this up. For anyone new here, we kind of touched on this basics the last episode we did. So we'll make this very quick. If you want to just go touch on those underdog rules like as quick as we can there. So yeah, let me bring that up. So it's the roster is very condensed, as you can see. Let's see here for the round. So it's going to be 3-round process, 6 groups. Again, you can read it on the screen. 6 groups to start. They did have 16. It is now just 6 for the second round. And then a 310-person final. Let's see, what else am I missing here? So yeah, so you're going to start 3 pitchers. They broke it down into 1 infielder, 1 outfielder, 2 flex, and then 5 bench. So the roster, which we'll touch on when we get into the other things, will be very interesting. And I'm pretty sure, so it's a draft pot of 6. So you're going to be drafting against 6 other people in a 12-round draft. So there's going to be a lot of people, or a lot of teams in each draft, just a lot of players just not even drafted. So we'll get into all that ADP. If you're new to the scoring, shown just right there, batters get more than pitching. Pitchers don't get that much at all compared to batters. They actually are the only position group to score negative runs, and that's in earned runs. So the pitching it's not, at least in the dailies and best ball, you're not scoring as much as you are basically. If you hit a home run, you're getting immediate 14 points if it's just a solo home run, and a pitcher needs to have a pretty decent start to get 14 points. So, I mean, you get that quality start in that win, which is bumped up versus the daily format. But
yeah, this is best ball scoring. If you're
Yep,
a
so
daily sicko, this is a little different. This is good old best ball style scoring. So
Yep.
there is,
So
but yeah, we'll get into the strategy about the rarity of some of these stats.
But
and
we'll touch on
used and all
the
that.
wins and the quality starts in the postseason is
few and far between.
Yeah, exactly. So like those points, you know what I mean? So the scoring breakdown is listed on your left there. 15K to first, 7 to second. Don't need to go into that. You can read that, go into the scoring, obviously. I think the one thing we need to touch on, if we just real quick, would probably be just the format of the rounds and how they break them down into. I believe the first round is broken into the wild card and divisional series. So we'll touch on that more, obviously later in this, but that's an important key. Is there'll be two teams for the playoff format. There'll be two teams in each conference that'll have a bye. So that first round will basically be the teams in the wild card series, and they can accumulate more games potentially than the teams getting the bye immediately to the division series. Round 2 will be your conference series, and then round 3 will be the World Series, obviously. If we wanted to show the playoff format, perfect. So that's basically what I was talking about there on your left with your top 2 teams getting a bye. It's fairly looking locked up, except I think the NL with the NL East. Yep. I haven't checked that last, but I'm pretty sure they're still. What is it? Are they game? Are they game between each other?
Yeah, Fangraphs has it like 65-35 Mets right now.
Gotcha.
Rough breakdown.
The seeds are all locked up with the Yankees looking to basically get that bye. The Astros looking to get that bye. Dodgers clinched, and then you have the only other that we have muddy in the water right now for that bye is the Mets and the Braves. Otherwise, all the other teams we talk about here will be getting that most likely that wild card series and playing against each other. That's the playoff format broken down. Just to note that again, that first round of the actual Underdog playoffs will incorporate the wild card round and that divisional round. Second round will just be that ALCS. Third round will be that World Series. Anything that I'm missing out on, boys, that you want to touch on here?
No, I just think the format is. I think they made the right decision about grouping that together. I really don't know how else you would have done it. I think a round just wild card would have been way too thin. So I think it was the best decision that they made. And 3-10 in the finals is kind of nutty, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun sweat if you get to the World Series for sure.
Yeah, you got anything, Chris?
No, I agree. First off, the MLB actually made a good choice in switching up this format. I am a fan of this format compared to previous iterations and previous ideas that were out there. So, shocking for the MLB to come through with a good call, but I know tentatively in favor.
Yeah, those single elimination games, not a fan. Not a fan. Two out of 3 times, not a fan.
Yeah, not ideal. I think that the two important things that you hit on there, Numi, were the wild card and the DS rounds being put together is going to add one layer of strategy, and then the CS being its own thing and the World Series being its own thing. And you got to win just to make that 310 person final. You have to win 2 pods of 6. You got to come first. And for those of us that are letting the semis right now, the dinger and the bunt, that first out of 6, you could roll real good or real bad with some shitty lineups that can squeak through, or just get annihilated because you're running up against Judge Bo right now.
It really makes me wonder, if they do any sort of probabilistic stuff on the back end to put these monster teams to, it's just, or maybe it's just the wonderful variance of fantasy, but it really makes me wonder, how some of these teams, I've got a pod where first place is just touching 800, and I know no Bo Sox, I don't think he's in here watching, but he's got a pod with 5th place is a team that would be advancing in every pod that I'm in. It's just the variance is crazy. And I think yeah, there's just a lot. Like you're going up against the room, and it's gonna stink if you're making like a really nice built out lineup of World Series contenders, and you've got a team that's just like playing to advance, and they're just like a hodgepodge of the wild card. Like that can happen where some guys playing just to advance to round 2 and get a few bucks back, and that's it. But we know better. We know better, but that's why you draft en masse.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I think let's next thing we can roll into that. Basically, let's see the playoff picture. Let's see what we're working with here, basically for these teams. Yeah. So it's a tough looking at this for any Twins fans here, and it's just me. I know. But we are for the AL here. It's not looking good for us. It's basically going to be the Indians. They just continue to roll. So if we look on there. That's the 95, basically 96%. 95% for the Yankees to clinch that bye. So that's what we're looking at. Astros got it. Toronto, Seattle, Tampa Bay, they're in the playoffs, barring, again, something drastic. And then the only other spot that we're looking for is that AL Central spot in the AL. And it's looking like it's going to be the Guardians if they continue to play this way. It breaks my heart, but yeah, it's looking like it's going to be the Guardians. So yes, I'm sorry. The Guardians. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But that's what we're looking. That's the teams basically that you should be only targeting in these drafts. That's the only teams we should be targeting.
And again, just to reiterate here, we're looking at the top 6 here. So obviously the top 5 are like very much solidified, and that 6th spot, that 6th and final spot, is what we're looking at here as far as teams making their way into the playoffs. And there's some interesting kind of strategies to take with this. It's really hard for me to get to some of these like lower seeded AL teams. I'm not sure, like as far as the 5 and 6 go, like I don't know about you guys, but the Rays are really hard for me to kind of get to right now. I haven't drafted like a ton yet to where like I can decide to like get these one-off teams like that. I've got 10 teams in right now. So Guardians and Rays for me is a little hard for me. Like I'll throw in a one-off here and there, but I don't think I have a single Ray drafted yet. Where are you at on that, Chris, since you're kind of in these streets a little bit deeper right now?
So I'd say that currently, I guess, yeah, my view is a little more extreme in terms of kind of taking deeper, longer shots at some of these more fringe teams. I think in the AL, my overarching kind of team thought is the Astros are a juggernaut and like they're the well-deserving favorite. And I think the Yankees are a week 2 seed. So in that case, I think that it does open up like a significant kind of window for one of these wildcard teams for the Guardians to either go into New York in the DS and pull off an upset and go to Houston for the ALCS. I would say that my exposure currently would mirror the way that I think ADPs are kind of breaking at the moment, where I'm definitely heavier on the Jays than the Mariners and the Rays. I know Jay Warner on Bad Bro the other day called out the Guardians as one to just start working in to your kind of stacks here. And I've started doing that in the last couple of days because I think that, yeah, that's 75-ish% or 3 weeks, 4 weeks out still. I think that's just going to kind of come together as a spot that that we're going to want to take advantage of, because I know that for those of us that have been following like the regular season stuff with them, Bieber and Tristan McKenzie are pretty legit 1-2. And if you got to go into Cleveland and win 2 out of 3 games against 2 of those guys, their bullpen, that kind of sneaky solid lineup they put together, and sneaky besides Jose Ramirez, who's one of the best 5 players in the game, that they are an appealing stack to me, because if they win that division, they're essentially they're locked into a 3 seed, which means if they beat the 6 seed, they're going to New York in round 2, and I think that they'd be live to basically pull off an upset.
That's a really good point. Like looking ahead, that if they're the 3 seed, they win out and they win that wild card, like there's no reseeding, right? They are playing that number 2 seed no matter what. So that, I mean, obviously they would in this case because they're the 3 seed. Looking at No Bo Sox talking that Judge is actually Superman, but yeah, no, that's definitely something to consider because I would not want to be taking. I don't want the team that has to face the Astros. Like maybe as a one-off correlation, I get, like you can't even correlate like that in baseball. So yeah. I don't want anybody that's in the way of the Astros. I'm with you there, but that is really interesting to kind of like attack that to attack that next because I agree. I think that they're vulnerable. The Yankees.
I will say Judge is like the minus 500 favorite to win the 2021 Josh Allen. You needed this guy to advance around, and his team still lost award. So if there's one player that's going to happen to, it could very well be Aaron Judge.
That's a great point. Wow. Yeah, that's a great comparison. Just like basically Bo Bichette is this year, or is the fantasy football's 2020 Rashad Penny. So, or that Eric put out there. I thought that was beautifully put. Yeah. So now we move into now we for real. Now we move into the NL, who we have the All-Star Dodgers, who we know what we're working with here. And then we have what we were just talking about with the Mets and the Braves. 30, basically, you just nailed it right there. 36 or 63-36 split in terms of what Fangraphs has them as to win their division. So, I mean, take that for what you will. Both teams are going to be in the playoffs. So, you know what I mean? Honestly, it's interesting because I take it as you can start drafting them and you kind of get lucky basically if one of them gets in the wild card, I guess, and then gives you those extra games and still win. Like that's the only way I'm really looking at it. They're both great stacks. We'll get into that more in depth, obviously. We have the Cardinals in there, Padres, Phillies, and with a slim 26% chance, the Brewers to sneak in. So what are we thinking about? Just a quick overlook of the NL here, boys.
Well, I was hitting Cardinals really, really heavy, or like in my early drafts, whenever I was starting, I was like like you just, first off, you got the Cardinals devil magic factor. Like they can always make a run, and they had a lot of like the bats, especially, right? Like looking at Goldschmidt, Arenado, O'Neill, even freaking Lars Nootbaar, I think is still pretty free. Just classic example of just like the Cardinals just churning out just like a generic man, and then he goes like, "Oh, I'm going to have like 136 WRC plus." By the way, like great. I hate you so much. But now they're a little more expensive, and so it's a little bit harder to like get a really sick Cardinals stack right now. So. Because of that, I mean, the NL, I mean, the Dodgers are having a historic regular season, and they're going to have a bye. So you really do have to plan around that if you are going to take them. But because it's so wide open right now, the NL is just like, it makes it fun to draft the NL because you can just like hope and pray that one, because it's very, very plausible that one of the wild card teams from the NL makes the World Series. That feels like it's coming.
Yeah, Chris, what do you got on that?
The Dodgers are like, they're the real deal, and like the ADPs reflect that, and the odds reflect that, and everything reflects that. I will say Fangraphs, the projections in general are probably a little more balanced than clearly than the market here, but across the board, they're kind of, it's tougher because they're no sheep. We don't do this here.
Sorry, bud. Your team's dust.
Unfortunately.
Wait. Can I type in, has anyone done any Minnesota stacks? Because I
did one. I did one for you.
Rip. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Tribute.
Yeah, exactly.
The Dodgers are a tough one because they are so goddamn good and so likely to make the World Series, but they are so expensive. Which means that it's very easy to end up with a really good looking team where you've chopped up Dodgers at the top. And it's still essentially, you got to hit a parlay where they make the World Series. against the other team you drafted and the Dodgers you drafted are the ones that go off in the World Series and are the ones you have to have. And we're going to hit on this a little bit later with some of the stacking, some of the strategy stuff, but it adds another layer. When you think about drafting them, I think that Nez's point about these wildcard teams being very strong and very stackable is important. And pitching wise too, like the Phillies, the Padres, the Cardinals, the Braves, they all have like solid staffs, solid options. Like you could take 1, 2, 3 pitchers and feel good about like rolling those guys out in a wild card DS situation in a World Series. Like it's the NL's pretty stacked, and I feel like the Dodgers are a juggernaut. But yeah, it wouldn't shock me to see one of these teams go in there and stand up with them toe to toe and take them out.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I just want to make, if anyone's watching this later on, pre-recorded, this sheet here is available in the Spike Week Discord. So it just out of the pure generosity of our man, he provided it for anyone if they want to use it. So this has been a great tool for me in the last 2 days just to simply go over. That next tab that we got there, the players, we don't really have to like touch on that or go in it, but that's something I just want to show off that I think is one of the coolest things. That is just, it has live ADP that you can constantly see how this is shifting. That's something that I like to have up on a screen, like just using. So I want to tout that, but we don't have to really go through that because we'll see ADP reflects. But yeah, that's a wonderful addition for anyone maybe not like accustomed to baseball, doesn't have that great acumen. Definitely check out this. This can give you a significant edge boost. So
yeah, that's phenomenal right there. You love to see it. Just everything right there for you. It's beautiful. So
yeah,
can't say thank you enough for throwing this stuff together. Even all the stuff you did, like just in the regular season, man. It was just it's awesome. We're lucky to have you around.
Appreciate it. And Underdog, I think, got all this started when they've just been so like forthcoming with the data and pumping stuff out, and they just dropped all the dinger stuff like in February, and they're like, here you go, here's the CSV file, have a day. Yep. And I was like, well, shit, work slow, might as well take a look. Went down a rabbit hole, and here we are. I will say, yeah, this is in the Discord, on Twitter, and all sorts of things. It is, generosity from a self-interested point of view, because we'll touch on this a little bit later, but playoffs are weird and they're a little bit different from the regular season. And I know me and Sheep have talked about this a little bit, and me and Nui were getting into it today, where these playoff drafts are, you have a better chance to build a winning team in a sharp room than in a room where you've got you 2 sharp people and 3 loose cannons, because we'll get into like the kind of staying in your lane and building out your stacks point of view. But it's just kind of it was a good kind of thing to have people more information, more decision-making tools. Always good to get that out there. The one thing I will point out on this page, not even going to scroll down any further because this takes us to the first like 24 players. So the first 3 or 4 rounds, there is a lot of Dodgers, a lot of Astros, a lot of Mets, and a handful of Braves and Yankees. Other teams, not so much. So just keep that in mind when we go through the rest of this and talk about who's more likely to go where and when. Because if you are targeting those teams, you're going to have to be fighting for those players at the top of your drafts. And it's really important when you're trying to build out a team that is actually live to win the 15K. Because you can build a hell of a lot of like pretty good teams that might advance you and then just be completely cooked in the final round, which is, not ideal. Essentially, you want to have as many live bullets in the final, and getting yourself boxed out on some of these teams is a really easy way to kind of cap your equity with no like effort, essentially.
Right.
That's beautifully put. Honestly, that's beautifully put. Yeah. And next thing, that we got here is just a nice little World Series matchup tool. And I love how you have the big free market odds as well as Fangraphs. That's just a cool little thing that you added on there. It's perfect. You have that in other sections on there, but is there anything that when you made this that pointed out to you initially when you just saw what was here?
This might have been number 1 or number 2 on the, when I made this, I was like, oh shit, like this is what we're looking for. because when you look at the playoff picture and like the odds for teams to get to the World Series, you see 30% for the Dodgers, 27 for the Yankees, whatever, all the way down. You're like, that's a pretty good chance. You get into your draft, you want to draft a stack, 2 teams that make it to the World Series. So when I started punching in these numbers to like get exact combos on what does Fangraphs think the matchup of a Dodgers Astros World Series is going to be, and it came out to not even 9% of the time. That was kind of a like, oh shit, like that's low. Like that feels for 2 like juggernaut teams that are overwhelming favorites, maybe not overwhelming, but like decent favorites in front of the competition in both leagues. That exact matchup coming through only 9% of the time, and just kind of how flat this distribution is across the board. Even if you look at the market ones where they are heavier tilted towards the Yankees, the Astros, the Dodgers, and the Mets, that's still only 12% of the time. So that's 1 out of every 8, essentially. You roll the dice and it comes up Dodgers, Astros in the World Series. And looking at that was eye-opening, I think, for me, because it was like, these are the teams that are getting drafted at the top that everyone is fighting for. And even like 92% of the time, it's not going to come through. The numbers might be off, but even still, if it's like a 20% chance, that's still 80% of the range of outcomes where like any other matchup comes through. And I think that was one for me that really influenced my kind of strategy going forward, where it was like, oh shit, like this is something we need to think about and consider every time we go into a room.
Nez, you got anything? Because that when I saw this immediately, that was one of the things that I to study is maybe not a word, but just looked at it and was just on. I was shook. I was like, okay, it kind of literally grounded me. I'm like, huh?
Yeah, This is an awesome way to look at things, and really, like you said, just kind of like open your eyes to like how crazy the MLB postseason is, and what can really happen. I will say, like, if I had like a personal model here, I would have like these Houston, like that top row, like row 14 and row 3. I would definitely weight those more. I like the way that my exposures are laid out right now. I'm like, I'm very like over everything, right? I've got like only 10 teams right now finished, but like 60% Fromber, 60% Mancini, 50% Javier, 30% Verlander. Like that is like a cornerstone for me. And then from there, like I kind of like mix and match on different teams. So I feel like Houston is like you stated, just such a juggernaut. But the Yankees, if they get some pieces back at the right time, they can make some noise. Like we talked about the blue, like any of these teams can get hot, and any of them could, and it wouldn't surprise us because I've watched baseball before. It's the way that things break. So but that's the way that I've geared my first few drafts, is like just trying to get like chalky before I get like too cute and mix and match. Just off my first round of drafts so far.
So what you're saying is next to these column, or next to these here, you just want basically another one that just says Nez takes, and then you'll just be weighting them all the way up.
Here's Fangraphs model. Here's what Vegas says. Here's what Nez says.
Yeah,
Nez says 50% chance Houston versus LA Dodgers, 25% versus the Mets, and 25% versus the Braves. Thanks for coming. See ya. No,
perfect. No, I love it. No, that's great. All right, well, let's keep chugging along, because we'll have the most in depth here when we get into these next things, and we'll obviously hop into a couple drafts here, because that's what the people want. So yeah, this next thing here is your team stack tool, and you're gonna have to tell me a little about this. So is this basically already kind of like a preset team that is stat, or how did this? What is this page when people go to it?
This one was purely selfish initially. It was just for me. When I was in my drafts, I was like, okay, I'm starting with, let's say I, rolled a 104 and I pick Verlander. I'm like, okay, I want to see where my Astros going, who performed well this year, where essentially where are the points where I need to be grabbing more Astros. And then it was like, well, if I want to know my Astros and where to pick them, I need an NLT to kind of line them up with in the World Series. So let's say you're, setting up your Houston Mets stack here. You kind of just have a heat map and a road map essentially to where the plays, where are the different points that you kind of need to enter and exit with like outfielders, essentially. Like if you know that Jordan and Kyle Tucker are really the only two playable Astros outfielders, but Aledmus Diaz has an ADP, and that ain't it. Like, go take Trey Mancini, go take Jeremy Pena, go take someone else, because he's not going to cut it. But if you know that and you're setting up your Astros build and you don't get either of those two guys, then you need kind of like a backup plan on where to go. And then the third team was essentially just, these two are most like, in my opinion, my personal take is that the Mets are going to end up taking that division and be a strong buy team. So in this setup, you'd want a third team just to kind of pad those wild card advance rates. And we can get into a little bit of the 2 versus 3 stuff afterwards, because I think it's maybe the most important discussion in this whole contest. I put on Twitter that the 2 versus 3 teams and 4 versus 5 pitchers are kind of the two things that really were like racking my brain over the first couple. Lars Nootbaar, guy rakes. So go take him in your Cardinal stacks. And yeah,
guy.
Classic. Just create a Cardinal.
And just drive line. Just go to drive line, bro, and like you'll be one of the best hitters in the league. It's that simple. Just go to drive line. Simple
and
unreal.
The last point I'll make about this page is there's no fourth team option because don't take a fourth team. You take a fourth team, I think that just narrows your range of outcomes to one exact ALCS, NLCS. Like, you need those 4 teams, and you need, even if it's like a lopsided one, like I think you're handcuffing yourself a little bit too much. I would rather have a 2-team stack and then a 3-team stack. And I think 4, you're spreading yourself a little bit too thin.
Agree. I love it.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, that's thrown on, as Levitan would say, it's too many condoms to be thrown on your lineups if you're going to be drafting a 4th team. Like, it's just
exactly.
I could see if you're going to do a 4th team, like a one-off player, like if you're going to call your shot, by all means, but like that's as far as I would take it, because these rosters that we can draft are super thin. They're not deep. Like you said, that pitcher discussion is what keeps me up at night with these teams. It's like 4 or 5 because we got to start 3, and it's just so interesting to think about the ways to attack that pitcher position. It's tough, man. I'm really struggling with how to attack it. I don't have a set answer, and I don't think there is one. I don't think you should, have one way of never drafting 5, never drafting 4. But it's a fun discussion. It's tough. It's tough in a draft room to make that choice.
Yeah, I love it. All right, well, let's go on to this now. Some of my favorite things here, which is basically it's just going to be your teams, and you have notes on them, which is just beautiful. But it's each person's live ADP ruled out with their each. I mean, you can get each team here for AL, NL. You have so far. Even just notes that you've decided to just write out for us, which is just amazing for anyone that wants to see this. But this page has been super helpful. Yeah, this page has just been awesome. When I'm drafting, you literally get just an immediate snapshot of how drafts are going. And if you if I take this person, what's going to happen next? Go to that team because you're going to be stacking. You can kind of just play out what you need to go and when you need to go it. So yeah, these pages are some of my favorites. I love it.
Yeah, thanks. I really like these ones too. They're probably the ones that I use the most during actual drafts because it is very easy to kind of be under the gun. The one thing I will say is, due to geography and legislation, I'm only doing slows because I can't enter fasts here. So I've just piled in slows. And I think actually I absolutely hated doing slows for the regular season. They were just agonizingly slow. I was just pumping out fasts, basically as fast as I could enter them. And in the regular season, there's a lot more of, you want your room to make mistakes and hand you values that you can line up. Here, I almost want the room to everybody take their time and know what you're doing, and then stay in your lane, essentially. And we all kind of mark our territory, and everyone goes on their way to build a team that's live to win the final. These points per game for the underdog ones, I will say those are only up through the end of August, because the last time I ran these was when the bunt and dinger regular seasons ended. I think end of this week after the semis, I'll run it again, and just so we can see the Bo Bichette numbers.
I was just gonna say, go
8.6,
yeah, the 15.
Literally,
dude's absolutely crushing right now.
One thing that I had ran by knew me before that I was thinking about doing is adding in just what everyone's baseline bat X projection was at the beginning of the year, just as a like, this was our prior and now this is the results from the year. So if you have someone running hot as the sun just this year, but I worship at the altar of Derek Hardy. So if his projection was a little bit tepid on somebody who's not living up to that this year, then I'd be a little more skeptical. But that's more of a future thing.
Yeah, I agree 100% with the Derek Hardy there. Yeah, and then it's the same thing with your NL teams that you got there. And we can kind of use this, maybe go back and forth when we draft, but I think one of the things that we're going to want to dig into the most here is this last page, and that's that stacking illustration. And I think if we just have you basically break down what this page is and kind of just quick, or I mean, it doesn't have to be quick, just what we're looking at here, because this is awesome.
Thank you. So this one was this was kind of an idea that I'd been mulling over for a while through all these best ball drafts and all these things you hear about different strategies and stuff, and just kind of putting things into context about these overarching strategies. And I wanted to kind of lay out from a just case by case basis the three kind of types of team that I've drafted so far, or that my eye's been drawn to, or things that I've done, and essentially just kind of laying out, if you do a 3-team stack with 2 bye teams and a wild card team, what do some of the results and some of the numbers look like? And I think literally my favorite part of this page here is just anyone that's highlighted in yellow is somebody that I draft on this team, and these are actual teams that I've drafted. Maybe I've drafted with some of you guys in these slows. But these
that team is dirty.
We'll get to this Dodgers team down below that is just
holy shit.
Yeah, but what I kind of wanted to get across here with the picture is we have a Dodgers, Astros, Mariners stack with essentially bits and pieces of each of the 3 teams, and it is like, objectively, I picked some pretty sick players here, like Jordan, Freddie, Trey Turner. That's a great start by ADP. Like, you're loving it. You get Julio, grab a couple front end arms, Robbie Ray, Gonsolin, Javier. Like, these are guys that are going to be on teams that go deep. And then I got to the end and I was like, okay, well, I have this 3-5-4 Houston, LA, Seattle thing. The most guys I can get into the World Series is 9. Didn't feel great about that. And then I kind of just started highlighting these names, and it's like, this team feels great. If I make it to the World Series round with this team, and let's say it's a Houston Dodgers World Series, which is, the most likely outcome if we were to play it out 1,000 times. The yellow guys are my guys. The white guys are guys that everybody else is going to have as well. Mm-hmm. So I need to not only navigate through 2, like 1 out of 6 pods in the DS and the CS rounds. I then need to get to the World Series and basically hit a 8-leg parlay of Jordan, Freddie, Trey, Altuve, Javier, while also fading, Verlander, Tucker, Mookie, Julio Urias, and Kershaw. So that didn't feel great. Because I feel like you get this team to the finals and you have some outs, but you really need to kind of hit a lane. And this was kind of the example that I was talking about before, when you're in your draft and people are jumping in for Astros, people are jumping in for Dodgers. Like, even though I got good value on Freddie, Trey, and Jordan, I only got like 3 of the top 6 guys on the board, essentially, between those 2 teams. So somebody else could have JV, Mookie, and Kyle Tucker, and it's like we're flipping coins in the final, essentially, which is certainly something. So I kind of labeled this team as the like higher advance rate, lower win equity in the World Series team, because I think we can agree that a 3-team stack like this, there's a lot of outs to kind of having a decent run. If that is the lane that you want to go for in terms of like viewing this as a bankroll building tournament and trying to 10x your money by getting it, I think the min cash in the final is $100. So you're 10xing basically if you make the final, which for some people that might be the right kind of approach. When I was thinking about it, I decided I was just going to pick a lane and go for it. And I'm actively kind of trying in these drafts to shoot for the moon and go for as much win equity in the final as I can get. So I think this was the third or fourth draft that I did. This was the team I ended up with. And over time, I've moved more into drafting teams like this and the one below. This is, you can see the yellow is much more concentrated on this one and then the next one as well. And essentially the whole bet here is we get a Jays Cardinals World Series. I get 12 guys into the final round, and my 12 guys in the final round are going to be 12 of the top like 15 players essentially. And if you make it there with Jays, Cardinals, Astros, that means you've burned some roster spots on people that I now have spots available for. So this was a draft where Goldschmidt's ADP is 10 now. So I think when I drafted this, it was 15. So, and I took him 5th overall. So essentially it'd be aggressive by ADP or jumping ADP by, a good amount. But this was a room that I was referring to before. It was a sharp room. So I jumped in with Goldschmidt at 5 and then followed it up with Arenado at 8. So as soon as I do that, basically plant my flag on the Cardinals corner, most people that are drafting optimally, or everyone that's drafting optimally, isn't going to jump in and start picking off Cardinals, because if we both flip Cardinals in the World Series, then I have the better players, essentially. So this was essentially me cornering the market on a Cardinals-Jays stack. I will say the downside to these, obviously, is this only comes out 1% of the time, being the World Series. And because the way ADPs work, where we only have a couple players like that are drafted early, you could go out today and probably draft something similar to this. It would take, some aggressiveness and maybe patience to get the right room and make sure that nobody jumps you. But I would say if you're going for these, take the 10 best players between the two teams and then take 2 stabs on someone on each team that like you think either doesn't have an ADP or is like a 71.9 guy who could just pop for 6 games. So here I've got Jack Flaherty. Like, who knows what he could be a 0. He could be the guy that the Cardinals give the ball to in game 1 and game 5 of the World Series. Like, could be either or, but he's a little bit lower in ADPs. Mikolas, Montgomery, they've produced for people this year. So I think people would tend to draft those guys first, a little bit safer for sure. But if I'm trying to, run this right to the top and grab 15K, Flaherty could be that guy. If you think that, Kirk could be that guy, or Chapman. Chapman is a favorite of mine. I think he'll play every day, every game in the playoffs. He'll play every inning of every game in the playoffs as long as they go. So even if he's hitting 6th or 7th, like that, he's just producing points for you. And he's a streaky hitter who could go off for 3 homers in 4 games, and he's the guy you need to have. Exactly.
Yeah, like he's having himself a really nice year. So
he is very quiet.
I like this team. I like the two the 2-team approach, especially a team like 2 wild card teams that I think have shots like this. This to me, it's sneakily like high floor, high. You just gotta get there. Really, I mean, you have a really nice floor here.
We'll go back to that playoff format page and look at some of this 2-star, 1-star stuff in a minute or two, just to talk about that wild card thing and the pitchers when we get into the pitcher side of things. But I agree. I think this wild card approach is going to be underutilized and raises both your ceiling and your floor in some scenarios.
Yeah, I don't know how many people go into a draft and actively avoid Houston, Dodgers, Yankees, Mets. I don't think like many people are of like making the conscious decision to not click on them right now. I haven't. I think I've got one of those teams on every team right now. Like I said, only 10, but I mean, I'm probably going to do that a lot of the time. I need to get a little creative with the building, after looking at this.
Yep, I will agree. I was not doing this as active. I think I did it once, and then as soon as I saw it, I sent the team to Chris. It was a Toronto. I guess it wasn't taking the bet like that because it still had the Braves, but if they be the wild card, it's the same thing. You know what I mean? So I went out of my way and took Riley at 3. So same thing. I just took my bet. Have literally the top Braves lineup when it comes to Riley, Acuna, Olsen, and then I also have Vlad, Bichette, Springer, Teoscar. So, yeah. As soon as I saw this, it like a light bulb kind of went off in my head. It was awesome. And then the bottom one that you have here is so that's good. Yeah, by team onslaught basically.
Yeah, my last point on the wild card one is the one downside that I keep turning over in my mind is that if enough people kind of start being aggressive towards ADP and picking these teams, you could be duped in the final, essentially, which would be, disastrous for your win equity. And you're just cutting it in half right away, which would be pretty shitty. I think the defense against that is you still have to win 2 pods of 6 to make it to the final. And a lot of crazy shit can happen in a 6-person pod. Especially, if you've cornered the market on 2 wildcard teams, like you could have, Judge being Josh Allen, being the guy you need, but in a 5-game loss, like he hits 7 homers or something absurd, or DeGrom pitches twice and they lose 1-0 because the Mets gonna Mets. Like DeGrom could be a 60% advanced guy that just gives you nothing in the final. So I think you're embracing the variance a little bit with that kind of approach and playing towards the more extreme ends of that kind of flat distribution that we talked about on the matchup page. For this one here, I needed to throw this one in just because I couldn't believe it kind of as it was happening. But essentially, just the way this room broke, I ended up with Mookie, Freddie, and Trey all on the same team in the first 3 rounds. And when that happened, I was like, well, shit, the only way to kind of play this team is I need Dodgers in the World Series, obviously, and I need as many Dodgers as possible because this is a Dodgers, goes on a killing mission to just win the World Series, essentially. And so I have Dodgers like the first example, but I have consolidated a lot of the good Dodger players. Part of the benefit to this draft for me specifically was just that people realize this and just avoid at all costs. Like I got Kershaw, Gonsolin, and who else? Bellinger, like 50 and 20 spots past ADP, because what's the point at that point? There were not even really reaches on the Dodgers side. It was all just kind of fell into my lap, like once in a blue moon unicorn type build. So I think if you're going to build out a buy team like this, you can try, and hopefully like every once in a while it just happens, essentially. The debate I was having here was, okay, I'm going to fucking load up on Dodgers. What do I do with the AL? Because I was already past the point of no return with Houston and the Yankees. And I was like, well, should I go just one team and pick 4 guys? Do I split it up? Go Vlad, Springer, and then Julio, Luis Castillo? Like, what's the move? I ended up just throwing in on the Jays because if this team wins and the Jays win, make the World Series, I will be completely content. So that was kind of my way to go about it here.
When I see this team, I just basically I think I should not enter anymore. Obviously it's not. But when I see this, I just, oh my goodness.
Yeah, these are some really well put together
teams. Did you
teams.
by chance screenshot the draft board for this?
I Not for now, but I can pull it up in a little bit.
I'm interested to see who's in this pod. And why? I mean, when you say stay in your lane, they really stayed in their lane, which I guess, but
I will say that as this draft was going, there were a lot of people kind of doing the exploitative strategy that we just talked about, where there were some badges and some sharp people. I can give credit to Scary Top. He's in the Discord as well. He was kind of the one where when I saw his first couple teams, we were in a lot of the same slows. I was like, what is this guy doing? Matching up these wildcard teams and just like reaching for players. And then the light bulb went off and I was like, oh shit, this is like, I've seen the way, essentially. So I think a lot of people, like, this team is pretty good, like, based off the way it turned out. I would venture to say that a good bit of the people in this draft also put together very optimal teams. And whoever makes it out of that first round onslaught is going to have a pretty decent chance to take this team deep.
Yeah. I like it. Well, I guess we've kind of milked. We've gone over a lot. We'll continue to touch it. I think right now we should just probably implement some of these strats and jump in some drafts. So I will. Yeah, we'll get rid of that there, and we will get going. Just give us a second here. 1 second. Perfect. All right. Yeah. So let's.
Not the double dribble.
Are you sure? No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, we need 2 more. If anyone is in here watching, wants to jump in, if you already are in, thank you. That's awesome. Yeah, I've done 15 fasts. They were basically when this dropped. Then the NFL started, and that kind of took over my life for a bit. And then now we're back. So my teams are very early at ADP. It's don't even really, I mean, if I can go in there, it's probably, again, it's a lot of these teams I don't like anymore now that we've done this show with a lot of Dodgers and Astros onslaughts, which is one thing would be really cool if you did a full, I don't know if you have it, but a by team stack and how that would look in that stacking illustration, just to make me feel sad. About all of my teams that I've done with these buy teams, but
this is a hodgepodge. This isn't a good example. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, I think there is definitely a way to do it, where one of the initial things I was kind of thinking about was these wildcard round is a full other round. It's only a best of 3. Like, you could conceivably have wildcard teams in low scoring games where lots of bullpen guys throw, where nobody scores any underdog points, and then you could roll into the division series with loaded to the gills with bye teams. And if your guys go off in a 5-game, you get 2 starts out of DeGrom or Pete Alonso, it's 4 homers in 5 games. You could still cruise by some of these. The wildcard teams are wildcard teams for a reason. Their lineups aren't as deep, their pitchers aren't as good. There's a trade-off here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's something that when I tried to basically my argument for that was and you can make any argument, like you said, playoff baseball is just crazy. So like you just said, the teams in the wild card, you can conceivably have 3 of the 4 series be someone gets swept in low scoring games, just 2 games. The scores do not matter, because then when they play, they get destroyed by these teams that actually put up valuable points. So that was my kind of thing. Again, there's so many different variables and outcomes that were just, that's just me telling my story of those lineups. Hey, in this one, it wasn't that high scoring of a wild card series. And even if it was, the people were scoring maybe weren't drafted, because there's a lot of people that can score, that can get pinch hits, that just simply aren't being drafted if we literally look at all the teams like you had. So yeah, I mean, I totally get they can play 8, but they could also only play the 2 and then play 3, get swept, and then they play 5. So it's what I mean? So it's an interesting, I think you got to have your lineup. Like we always say, tell that story. What is happening? What is the reason that gets this lineup through? And it's perfect. If anyone is watching, which I know you probably would have already been in it, if you want to join, we will put this in the want to draft and spike week.
Yeah, that's smart.
But yeah,
It's gonna be really interesting. This is it's almost like a blend between the NFL, the Gauntlet, and the MLB, or and the NBA rather, playoff contests, just because of just like the multi-game series with the NBA blending with like the little bit of the bye week with the NFL. I think it's really hard, or not really hard, but depending on who makes it there, like less likely than we think that like out of the 310 teams in the finals that we are going to have like 300 teams that can even field a starting lineup, let alone have the luxury of having bench players of matchups that are actually in the postseason, that are actually in the World Series. And obviously that all depends on how things break, but that was like my kind of thought early on, when with some of these teams that I have, like this one here is just a straight Braves versus Yankees World Series, with some reliever heavy options here. Just thinking like, maybe getting some of these guys stretched out a little bit, hopefully just getting there and getting some healthier. So I do like this team as far as like a 2v2 goes. Here's one with the Blue Jays. This is pretty gross. I hope this isn't any more than 3 teams, but it very well could be. I'm just trying to get across the line here. Okay, so this one is I looks like I started out. So I tacked these guys on late. I guess I thought I was going to maybe get more Astros here. So there's 4 teams here. So this is probably not ideal. Probably not how you want to build. So I don't have. So what I'm hoping for here is Phillies, Astros World Series, and then if that happens, then like this team is drawing dead. This is a 10x team that I'm hoping for, because it cannot field that lineup that we need in the World Series. So I'm gonna have to label this 10x. But here we go. Look at these badges. This is beautiful. This is what we want. We want a bunch of people that are not gonna snipe. We're going to stay in our lanes. We're going to have a nice little draft, and we're all going to live happily ever after. So this is going to be fun. Five hole here. So we get to kind of like react to the first 4 picks, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, Sheep made a good point there, with just the contest overlay. We're 10% filled with like 3 weeks to go. Less than 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks. It could be tough. It could be one that just gets under the wire or comes up short, which, obviously if you're firing in this contest, overlay is a good thing. So TBD.
Yeah, I think when people see overlay, they will. When the overlay is there, the people will come. I really think. I mean, that golf tournament, the Pup Cup. I mean, for the longest time, I was thinking like, we're going to get 60%. We're going to get 65, 70%. We're going to get 80%. And then all of a sudden it was like, 96% or something like that, or 95. It wasn't much like overlay at all. So I think once there'll be a lull, I think in maybe these drafts, the NFL drafts, or just when it gets close, people will be firing. There could be an abundance. I see Eagles most likely firing it. The guy again, when there's overlay in the contest, people will come. But it is baseball, so we know how that is.
Yeah.
We really do.
I do think there will be maybe a little bit though. We'll see, but I definitely think there will be. Okay, so here's what we got going so far: Dodgers, Yankees, Braves, Dodgers. This leaves us with DeGrom, looks really nice. Jordan, he's dealing with something, and we've got Trey here. I'm a DeGrom guy. We don't have any Mets yet. Do you guys have any thoughts with DeGrom starting off?
I like it.
I'm on. You can't see. I'm on my. I'm like triple screen in here. So don't worry. I actually am queuing him up. So there we go.
He is one of my highest owned players, and I am heavy on the Mets. I think DeGrom is the ultimate. Like, he is a tier above everybody in this.
He is the moment.
He is the moment. Yeah, DeGrom is him. Like a 2-start DeGrom round is the
Yeah.
nuts, essentially.
So something I wanna. How big do you think?
Well, we're on the clock here. Sorry, I want to.
Yep. No,
pause
that's
you here.
perfect. Yeah, I don't want to go on my typical tangents.
All
Here,
right, so here we have, we could hit Verlander or Scherzer or even Verlander, but that kind of runs us pretty thin.
I like
here.
the Scherzer. I like the Scherzer over
Scherzer
Verlander.
would be mine.
All right, let's just run it. Let's go.
So and so maybe I just lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
No, you're totally good. I guess nope, lost it anyway. But this is the only basically the aces at this ADP, but I think it's still worth it. Like that actually I do remember the 2-start week for a pitcher. Like you can't like basically expect, you know what I mean? That it's only gonna be the ace. And like we were talking in the Discord, I was talking about like the number 2, in which way something lines up. Cause I went through the playoffs last year. It could be so different again, because it was people coming off the COVID season, blah, 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 injuries. Scherzer ended up only pitching once in the NLDS. And then he came out of the pen. I think that was, or that could, because he was only a 1-game wild card. So he pitched that wild card. So it's just going to be a different how they line up. You know what I mean? So it's very interesting. And he goes Alonso. Okay.
Pain.
Exactly. When you saw that, I saw your face. I would go, yeah. But so like that's something that it's like I like targeting those guys that could potentially give you those 1 start, those 2 starts, which I know it's hard to like expect, but it's going to be the 1 or the 2 that are going to give you those 1 or 2 start, or those 2 start pods, basically.
Just generally on pitchers, I think one of the things that this is similar to, it's like a mix of regular season and the daily best ball. Pitchers, I think, here are more important than either of those 2 formats. Just based on roster construction, you need 3 pitchers versus 4 position players in these playoff contests. Whereas in regular season, we were waiting on pitchers and hammering those late mid-tier guys because you only need to start 3 out of a starting lineup of 10 players.
Yeah, now it's completely flipped. It's bizarre.
Yep.
Exactly. And I think with pitching, it all comes down to how many starts you get. You're going to have a bunch of guys that are a handful of guys that get 2 starts, and there's going to be at the top, and there's going to be a big step down.
All right, so we got 1 Blue Jay taken here. We've got a couple Astros taken off the board here. We could continue to hammer Mets here, or we can add like Kyle Tucker. What do you guys like to think here? You took Alonso.
I would do Lindor and then kick the can down the road.
On AL. Yeah, I like that too. We're gonna have a lot of options for AL. I think. Even if we end up sniping somebody a little bit here, I kind of like the idea of a Mets onslaught.
Yeah, because here we still like Houston, the Yankees, and the Jays have kind of been picked over already. Not picked over, but we're not getting those complete stacks. Mm-hmm. That leaves us open to Mariners, Rays, Guardians. Still.
Any thoughts here? Okay. Marte's on the IL, so that's a bit of a bummer. But
he'll be back.
Yeah, it's only 10 days, but it's a hand. We also have Mariners here. Any thoughts on these 3?
I think I'd lean Julio and just plant our flag on Mariners.
Yeah, I'm into it.
I was gonna say we could do a Guardians draft, but you can't turn down Julio at all.
Yeah. You might be able to. Like I said, I'm not against like a 1-off or a 2-off. I know it's not like ideal. Like the 2v2s are like extremely sexy. But depending on like, I'd have to look back up at the playoff matchups. Like if those 2 are facing each other in the wild card, obviously that would be like not like the most ideal. But like I'm not opposed to adding 2 to help you get over the line. But that's my like really risk averse, and I know that's not the way to win $15,000 in a tournament. But I wouldn't push it past 3, but I think that's okay. Just something to consider. Just throwing that out there for us. But I'm going to queue up some more Mets. I love how deep the Mets go. I think that makes it really, really nice to draft, just because you've got a lot of teams or a lot of players here. I was taking Vogel back early. I'm surprised that he's sitting. I'm assuming they were just facing a lefty, but That way we have a backup option here, and then we can start to look at some Mariners.
Yeah, it's handy that the Mariners ADPs are Julio and then just basically the pitchers. One thing I want to, so I don't know if this is me, if it's just obvious, if this is just an obvious point, it could be. When I'm making the stacks and say we end up doing the Mets, and that, or the Mets and Mariners, which we're doing, do you then maybe, so how I've been, if you get those two teams to the World Series, my brain just goes, you're going to want more of the pitchers with the team on more of your batters. It couldn't end up, it doesn't have to be that way. You know what I mean? So like if we're sitting there and we end up having only DeGrom, we can pick here. So.
Yeah, no, I think it can go either way is the cop-out answer, but I kind of agree with you. So I don't, what do you guys, any thoughts here? I don't think we really, I think we can kind of just like make our own decision here. I'm gonna stick with Marte. I guess.
Think we don't need to jump the gun on the Mariners because if we stay in our lane, or if they stay in their lane, there should be no reason. Granted, it's only been one Mariner taken, but there should, I mean, if we look at the way that they're building out stacks, so yeah, that's a Dodgers, Houston with no bats. That's a Yankees,
Dodgers with a, this is McGoozle here, so
okay. So we got in essential, we have two Dodger with Astro stacks kind of going in the 1 and the 4.
Yep.
Now Dodgers, Astros, Mets, which is interesting.
Yeah, and then look.
Okay, gotcha.
All right, so we're up next.
And there goes Bassett, who okay. That's an interesting. How do you feel about?
Yeah, I think I kind of want to go pitcher here. Yeah, good call. Yeah. That's exactly what I was going to say. Any thoughts? Like
it would have been Bassett, but I guess Castillo or Ray, whatever tiebreaker. I like Castillo, I guess. But
I like Castillo too.
Yeah, I'm a big Castillo guy.
How do you feel? I mean, would you, if Bassett was there, would you go Bassett and just make that a full Mets staff, or would you go Castillo in that pick normally, Chris?
I probably would have gone Castillo. I think. Because I think in that spot, I trust the room usually until they prove me wrong. And I would have wanted to lock down the Mariners ace. Like if we're saying Mariners in the World Series, like we're getting, probably a 2-start round and then hopefully another 2-start round would be ideal at some point. And I think Castillo probably, unless something down the stretch happens where the Mets would like need to jam DeGrom and Scherzer in the last week to like clinch the bye or something, Bassett probably isn't getting, like a 2-start round at any point really at the beginning. And I think Castillo gives you a little more upside in that spot.
Gotcha. Yep.
It. And if they're the team of destiny, yeah, he's gonna be a big part of it. So
exactly.
Where do you stand on relievers right now?
Oh wow, the Cardinals went along. I'm sorry.
There goes Robbie Ray. Turry, come on, wow, Turry. It's one of our boys.
So interesting here out of the one. This is happening a little more often where you'll get the room kind of being collectively out on someone, and then
it's just too good to pass up.
And they're just too good to pass up. Like in those cases. Yeah, exactly. Sheep. Yeah, he knows what's up here, and eventually it happens, and I'm fine with it. Like in that spot, there have been a couple drafts where like Alonso and Lindor falls like 20 picks past ADP for some reason, and sometimes you just take them and hope that it's so unique that like it just gets you through.
Okay, so we're at 3-1-2 right now. We lost our other Seattle pitcher, but we still have Gilbert and Paul Sewald. I kind of lean another Met here. I really like Nimmo or McNeil, and I know you're an Escobar guy. Neumann.
No, it's whatever you guys' lean is.
All right, I'm taking control. We're gonna go. We went Nimmo there, and I would like to make this a 4 outfield team just based on like who is there for Seattle that we're staring at in the face. That would be my okay. So Muncy goes here for old Gobo Cop. Gobo Cop, if you're a friend of the show, say hi. And then there's Luis Garcia. So I'm kind of in the Mitch Haniger here if we're telling ourselves the Mariners story. or if you want, if we're worried about infield, we could always take it infield. But I'm like,
whatever there.
I'm good. I think we're in a good spot here to take whatever we want.
I do not think Sheep wants me to hear or say that Suarez is hot.
Is he?
that it matters for the playoffs. No.
I wish I could see the game log there.
I just saw on Twitter that Suarez has been going. Yeah.
Goes deep twice, 2 times.
Sheesh.
So someone that I took and I sent, and one of mine was Mitch White. One, do we think Mitch White is on the postseason roster for the Blue Jays? And two, it's mainly because I'm just sitting there and I was doing a fast draft, and all of a sudden I wasn't expecting it to fill, and I'm doing it at a time that's not opportune. So I'm like, okay, I'm trying to fill this out, and I go Mitch White as my last pick because he's the bulk guy. How do we feel about that pick, or is that just a waste?
I don't mind it, honestly, because I think that was going to be Ross Stripling's role, was the bulk guy. And he has pitched so well this year. He's just earned a rotation spot and held on to it because Yusei Kikuchi can't throw the ball anymore, apparently.
Yep.
So I think Kikuchi might be on the outside looking in, and it could be Mitch White's kind of role in that. When I think of that role, the upside of that role is Christian Javier from last year's playoffs.
Yep. And that's exactly what we're trying to find, is basically that Christian Javier type role. So that's perfect that you brought that up. Yeah.
I think the reliever thing you just talked about too, initially, right off the jump, it was like, I'm down for it. I'm cool with relievers. Like, we can fire on some guys and get some leverage innings. I think last year was skewed the results heavily just because the Astros and the Braves rotations were in shambles by the end of the playoffs. And the Astros were throwing out like a 2.5-man rotation with the corpse of Zach Greinke.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's beautifully put. Like, it's just beautifully put. Zach Greinke rip. I took some in best ball. Anyway, I think Suarez is the pick here if we're going to be did we go Haniger last time, right?
We did. Yeah. So we're at 3-1-4 now. I think Suarez makes sense here. If they're going far, he's definitely going to be a part of it.
You want to read off
our super deep.
Well, after this pick, we'll read off our team here just so.
Yeah. I'm a little zoomed in.
How many Mets do we have right now?
We're at Lindor, Nimmo, Marte. So 3, and then 2 at pitching staff. So it might be time to. What are your lean on these guys here? I love Jeff McNeil.
Me too.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, let's take our guy. He just hits. He just one of those guys. He's
going to be on the field, or where be it. He's going to be on the field. So it's the same thing. Yeah.
And you guys kind of got me thinking about the guys that are gonna score your points at pitcher. The multi-start guys. Would you ever go 3 pitcher? Like, would we ever get so crazy as to call a shot and to say like these 3 are the dudes? I haven't done it yet, and it's hard for me too because I'm more like you. I'm more like 4 or 5, like never 3. But this is intriguing. I'm not gonna lie. The way that this is set up, this is intriguing.
Yeah, my cop-out answer will be credit Jay Warner. If you're doing a large portfolio, it makes sense to mix them in. Would I make it a staple? I don't know. I really don't think I would make it a staple. No, I wouldn't. But I mean, if you're doing maybe, you know what I mean? Like, I was actually going to ask the same thing about 2 outfielder or 2 infielder, but I want to know your thoughts as well of the 3 pitcher. Because for me, maybe mix them in, but it wouldn't be something I would really advocate for at all.
I haven't yet. There's one team I think I have with DeGrom, Scherzer, and Verlander that I thought about it, but the tenuous injury histories of all 3 of those guys scared me off because I think this thing's going to be win or lost at pitcher, essentially. And that's kind of led me. I'm probably 75% 5 pitcher at the moment, and then the rest 4. Because I think if you have 3 starting spots to fill out, I would like as many chances at those 2 start rounds as possible. Yep. And I think here you can get away with 5 pretty easily. One question I have here is, are there? I saw Manny Machado on the pool. Has anyone taken Padres yet, or Guardians? Because if we wanted to, someone took Soto.
I like Guardians.
Jose
I
Ramirez
think
just went.
if we wanted to get spicy, yeah, okay. I was going to suggest we could go
But
Jose
here,
Bieber.
I mean, I don't have a lot of excitement about this team, but like look at their entire team is available. You know, and
Shane O'Max. And would you rather go pitcher or batters here from this team, though? I mean, what would you be doing?
Shane.
Probably Shane. I think Shane would be a difference maker. Like,
I kind of like it, man. I like it.
That's my thought exactly when I saw that. Yeah,
because we're fielding if we get to the World Series with Mets in Seattle, we're fielding a full roster, and you know we get like the Rays to like help get us there. So that to me is fun.
Are we gonna go Rays batter, or are we just gonna go another Mets guy? What do we? Because we have it's Lindor, McNeil, Marte, and Nimmo, and then we have Suarez, Haniger, and Rodriguez.
Yeah, I guess we got one more. I don't know about you, Chris. I would probably lean just full like take another Ray. I don't know.
Yeah, I think maybe we just if we want. Do we want Wander or Randy? I think either of those plays.
That's a tough.
I would probably lean Wander, but like I know Randy's hotter. Oh God, I have to do it because I'm lagging. My computer was bugging out. I'm sorry. I had to make the choice there. But the reason I did it was just because of the allocation of the positions. I
wondered too. Again, this is me just thinking, watching the playoffs, such like steals. Like, is it gonna? You know what I mean? Are we gonna get more steal opportunities from not more, but like you see when those steals becomes, and then all of a sudden they're gonna run and get. You know what I mean? So. Because I think steals are 4.
That might not have been the right
steals
decision.
are 4 points.
I don't know.
That's just
they are. They're like,
maybe,
I think
I could be overweighting that.
A single.
So just my brain immediately thought was like, okay, well, it's not going to be Wander running. So, but is that really that important? I don't know.
If I wasn't on stream and my computer wasn't bugging, I probably would have done a little bit like closer look to see like, okay, like where am I at with Seattle? So I had two outfielders. So that was the right move, I think, to take infield here. Just because I've already got 2 Mariners at the outfield position. Along with the Nimmo and Marte pairing, so I think that made sense to kind of to take Wander there, even though Randy probably has a better outlook because Wander's been a little. I know he's been hurt, but pretty disappointing campaign from him in this season so far.
If we had been able to snag Pete Alonso earlier and like really kind of lined up our Mets, then I would have been fully on board with like just let's split Mariners and Rays and go send the Mets to a World Series and just call it a day there. I think not getting Alonso makes it a little bit more of a call, but I don't mind it.
That's a great point.
I don't know if I would have landed on McClanahan in that spot, but I think that was actually quite sharp, and it's like he falls in the group of difference-making pitchers. Like if you look at just straight up underdog points per game this year, it's DeGrom, Scherzer, and then McClanahan and Verlander.
Yeah, he carried so many teams, especially given his ADP. Even if his ADP wasn't where it was, he would still be carrying teams. So that he was just such a difference maker. So so Sheep said he got a Brave stack there. So let's but not really happy with it. So he went Acuna, Riley, veered off course, took Vlad, and then went Strider, Morton, Olsen, Swanson, super duper stack. I like what you did, and then added you Darvish there. I mean, you know, getting some points. Like I said, I'm into adding a one-off. I'm not doing it every time, but if there's someone that falls there, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world just to try to get over the line. It's tough. So, but otherwise, I really like what you did here, Sheep. I think this is a pretty sharp team. What do you got? Any thoughts from you guys on this?
No, I agree. I think that is a nice build. I know me and Numi were talking today about Olsen versus Swanson, and I think we landed on the same page as Sheep here, where Swanson had a marginally better year just because he is a accumulator, but in a short series, I like the variance of Matt Olson just ending a game with 2 swings, and there's 32 points, and you're on your way. I think the one spot, if we were going to look back on what we could have flipped for Sheep, it would have been the Albies Manoah picks. I think if you go Manoah there, it probably boosts the ceiling, taking the Jays ace ahead of Albies. I think would be my only nitpick, but otherwise that's a pretty pure run out.
Yeah, that's a good call in hindsight. It's tough whenever you're doing these and you've got your queue lined up, you got your teams lined up, but that's a pretty good call, I think, in hindsight to make sure that you get like if you're making a bet on a team to go to the World Series, having a pitcher there with them would be good. I think I'm down, Chris. I'm not sure how much time you got, but I'm down for one more if we can get enough people to fill this thing up.
Yeah, I'm good too.
You can see my Google suggestions for banana bread recipes. Had some fun last week. Little almond flour banana bread recipe. I can hook you guys up if you're into that. But let's see if we can get one more of these drafts going. We're a long road.
We'll see if we can get anyone in here. Let's
see what kind of influencing power we really have. How quickly we can get this to fill. If it's going to be a minute, I think we've had a lot of really good info here. But we'll wait a second here.
We can bring up some stuff and get a like reflect, or if anyone, I guess the only one in there was, I guess, Curry and Sheep. So let's see. So I guess here I'll check my exposures too, just to see if see how updated. Nope, of course they're not updated. So let's see if I can get them updated. Because that's the one thing that is a little annoying, is when you click the exposures and you do it too early, apparently you get stuck on whatever they have loaded there. So
the one topic
Gobo Cop had a good. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say the one topic I have, if we are going to filibuster here for a moment to let this thing load, is we briefly touched on relief pitchers. Just to flesh out that thought, I think initially I was like, yeah, let's throw in some guys and try and, pile up a couple guys that can accumulate points, because you're accumulating points over the series, right? And it's going to be scored at the end. So if you get a guy who, I think Tyler Matzek was the guy last year who was like the 3rd highest scoring pitcher in the World Series or the playoffs or something absurd, just because he went on a, historic run of striking people out and everybody, like everyone. It was ridiculous. So, but I think looking back on that World Series and that playoffs, it was like a one-time kind of confluence of people being hurt and not, showing up.
Context is super important there.
With the expanded playoffs this year as well, that opens up more starts. That's another, there's another round and 2 more playoff teams essentially this year. So that's going to open up a spot for X number of starts that any half decent starter is going to outscore like a reliever in a series. So I've kind of shied away from relievers during my drafting. But the one thing I think that we have touched on before was, if you're getting unique with one of these like wildcard team pairings where you're aggressive with ADP and you are then thinking about potentially being duped in the final round, like if you do that Jays Cardinals stack and just let it ride, if you are like you got 1 through 10 locked in, and then you throw in a Ryan Helsley who has like that elite relief, maybe multi-inning, high strikeout upside, that could be a differentiator for you in the final round. So I think that's where my current thoughts are on it. It would be in that type of build with 2 teams where you are looking to just get different and try something. The one thing I will add is you probably want somebody in that 7th, 8th Andrew Miller, prototypical range, where they're coming in a tight game for 4, 5, 6 outs maybe. And so you have that kind of upside to a multi-inning appearance with strikeouts, because closers, Jordan Romano is legit, and he's going to come in every time they have a lead in the ninth inning. But if they don't get there, then you're getting a 0. And you're only probably getting 3 outs. And even if those are 2 strikeouts, like it's a little bit dicey. I think for closers would be where I would stay away. I think.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I would be very, very surprised. I don't believe they've done it yet where they've asked Jordan Romano to get more than like 4 outs in a save. So I wouldn't expect it. That's the guy right now that like that everybody's taking, for me, it's just Christian Javier. He did it last year. He looks like, he started last, I think just yesterday. So he's been starting more. However, just love Javier as just a strikeout guy. And if he is going to be like a bulk innings guy, that would be fantastic for me and my current exposures because I've got a lot.
Yep. That's how I'm sitting as well. And going over mine, I need to probably get off the favorites because it is heavy Astros, Dodgers, Yankees, all of my exposures. So good thing we've only done 15 of them, and that can change. But yeah. So this is enlighten my to everything. It's going to be it's in the next 15 drafts. It's all going to be flipped. It's going to be so muddy. It's going to be wild cards all over. So
there's going to be like some like shit ass team that takes a wild card game to 3 games, and then they push their championship, their divisional series to 5. Like I just know it's gonna be like, oh, like, well, you just had to have Josh Naylor. If you didn't have Josh Naylor, like you didn't make it. It's just that's just what makes these fun, man. This is very, very unique, and I hope we get some overlay because I would like a little extra help to get over the line. That would
Naylor's going to end up on my Cleveland stacks. So,
dude, I love Josh Naylor. I'm just such a diehard Naylor fan. He's a beast, man. I mean, getting that, being a lefty too. I mean, I know they platoon him a little bit, but at least he's on the right side of the good side of the platoon, I should say.
Yeah, way back in the day, played against Josh Naylor. We were in the same kind of circuit around these parts. So
really,
Naylor and Cal Quantrill are my 2 small.
And Cal Quantrill, that's crazy.
Cal Quantrill, yeah, best baseball player I've ever played against. Guy was disgusting back in high school.
Did you hit against him?
1 for 7 career.
1 for 7, okay.
5 Ks, but 1 for 7.
Was he just like throwing gas in high school?
He was absurd. It was literally a man amongst boys, and everyone knew it. And it's like, that kid, that'd be Cal. So
yeah,
it was wild.
That's crazy. I don't have anybody like that as that I played against baseball wise, but I watched. I don't know. This is going to be a name. If you remember this, I'm going to applaud you. Devon Mizurako played around my area. He went to Punxsutawney High School. So Punxsutawney Phil, that's high school in Pennsylvania where he went to. I got to see him play, and yeah, he was one of those guys that it was just like we all knew he was getting drafted. It was just a matter of who. But yeah, it's a sight to see. It's crazy. No, you sheep, no way.
Man, I could see it. Oh, I could see it.
And
he's just sitting there. Young sheep is sitting there, just like I'm still gonna take Gamble over Cruz.
All right, we filled one up. As we wait for this to fill, quick funny little story. I was driven back to my house from my little league coach and his son, and I forgot my glove in the dugout. So we go back to the dugout, get my glove, and as we're walking away, one of the commissioners of the little league in my town or whatever was like, he told him like, oh yeah, AJ forgot his glove. He's like, oh, you got to bat him ninth and play him in right field as punishment. And he goes, well, that's where he plays. I did play right field, you motherfucker. That was not very funny. I quit baseball 2 years later. King Henry the Dank. I've been seeing him around lately.
Yeah, he's a staple in. He was a staple in the best ball ones early, and he's also been a lot of golf. I'm pretty sure
he's a golf guy.
Golf, and then I also NBA dailies. I think that's where I remember him from. So
All right, so we're 4 instead of 5 this time.
Our boy Chip Skylark, shining teeth, and me.
Judge and Betts are definitely going. I wonder who Sheep's going to take here after. Well, Betts is going to go at least.
So do we wanna just go? I mean, full. What are we thinking here? So like just take those wild card teams like we're doing, like we were talking about.
I would like to
get with this one.
Yeah. Let's have fun.
Yeah.
This time.
So what are we thinking? Because for me, it's the AL teams you can normally wait on. You know what I mean? And then you're gonna take your NL early. Is that how you normally approach this, or is it anyway? Really, you think you can do it?
I would like to get a little crazy on both sides, I think.
Okay.
So
like just first pick, first round. What are we thinking?
You know me, man. I think the Cardinals have the devil on their sid, and
there you go. Okay.
and they're a lot of fun to build a team around. Like you can
yep.
really build them out nicely.
Co-signed.
Yeah, you feel me on that.
Cardinals in the playoffs. Something about it.
it's evergreen.
Who's going to be their David Freeze this year? Huh?
I'm going to turn off the this real quick and give this a little refresh because I'm a little lag. There we go. Now we're better. Okay. Let me add Nolan here. Just queue up these guys. These are who I'm looking at, and then for whatever reason, Tommy Edman is pushed down really far, and he's been like one of their best hitters. And we're back up. Let's see what we can look at on the AL side, because I think that these guys are going to be there. Any thoughts on Jordan? Or do you think that's going to be too thin with the Astros?
I'm half intrigued because I'm a Jordan stan, but if not, I'm good with going Arenado.
I was gonna say I think we even go Arenado, but
sorry, I did it. I think Arenado comes. I think Arenado is going to come back. Since we planted our flag on Goldschmidt, unless
See, my only thing was in case we wanted to do just a wild card, a wild card AL team instead of.
So this might be a 3-teamer. I know that's getting a little.
Damn it, Nez! We just talked about this.
but I think we have the opportunity to get excited to do some exciting combos here. So I thought this dude was auto drafting, and then you just took Vlad.
If we had I think another 30 seconds to look at the board and saw that Sheep was in front of us and snagged Verlander, I think that would have been. And then realizing Sheep has 2 picks between Jordan and our next one, that would have been enough to point us in a different direction.
Yeah, 100%.
Such is life.
Yeah, let me pull up this board.
I will say Jordan is one of those guys that I'd be comfortable 1 off, 2 off. Like he is a difference maker that could carry you through a round. And even if he judges the Josh Allen, he could be Josh Allen light.
So we'll make this pick here, and then we can touch on this comment. I'll bring that back up.
Okay, so you just want to take Nolan here? I mean, make it easy, and then we can kind of talk more about our next pick.
Yeah, man. If Scherzer really falls, it's gonna be interesting.
I kind of like Fromber too, but
no, I like Arenado here.
Okay. Let me pull up the draft board here. I'm trying to do 10 things at once. Go ahead.
Could be a Guardians team. Just throwing that out.
Knowing
that we have our Jordan, but probably not many Astros, this could be a fun spot to load up some Guardians players.
Do you guys have a preferred roster construction that you end up gravitating towards when you're doing these drafts?
Hard to get off 4-4-4. I kind of go between like 4 pitchers and 4 at each batter spot, and then also like 5 pitchers and then a 3-4 or 5-4-3. That's all that I've done so far in my limited drafts.
And I've got a lot more 5s than 4s. I think the split between infielders and outfielders is a little bit overrated. Like as long as you have whatever hitters, I think that regular season it has kind of proven to not matter too much.
All right, Sheep. I don't think I can take Fromber from Sheep here or Bregman. He's got a nice build. Do we want to just start building? I mean, we've only got 12 roster spots. Should we just start tacking off?
He should, in theory, fall. So depending on what Chip has, I don't know what we're looking at.
No one's taking Jose from us. If they are, I'm hunting them down. So there goes Springer. This guy's got a nice little Dodgers, Blue Jays thing going. He's onslaughting Astros. I really like that start from Sheep here. We're gonna go ahead and take Jose.
Yeah, we fucked over Sheep real good with that Jordan.
I was just gonna say Sheep.
He's raging hard.
Sheep is sitting there just like, boys, we just spent how long talking about stay in your lane, and Nez comes out here and just goes Jordan.
I mean, I told you, man. Whenever it's so hard for me to stay away from the Astros. Like, I just don't see. I know we're making a bet on the Guardians here. And it's a plus EV bet because they're not going to be drafted as very often. But there you go. One day at a time here. But they're the favorites for a reason, and Astros just seem way different.
Last thing on roster construction.
So we can start to kind of think about what our pitching staff's going to look like. Go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry,
I was lagging. Go ahead.
All good. I think that in the regular season, we've seen kind of that this infielder outfielder split doesn't matter too much, and as long as you have a reasonable number of each, you're good.
Hey, yeah, perfectly put. Is it Bieber here, or is it Wainwright? Because we're gonna need. What are you thinking?
Wainwright for me. I think.
That's With the way that we're building Cardinals, I like it.
Yeah, it makes way more sense to make that extra bet there.
Have you done any two infielder or outfielder teams, and have you thought about that? Because you only need to start one, and then you have the flex. So in theory, you can if you have two, you have two of them to fill that spot, and then the rest of your positions could, infielder, outfielder can fill that flex spot. So I know I talked about it with Sheep. And that was something that we were talking about, and he was interested in it, or not interested, but just it was something that crossed his mind. So I was just wondering if that's ever crossed your mind, basically.
I haven't done it, but I have thought about it because completely right. You literally only need to start one of these guys. So if you roster, 5 nasty outfielders and you just scrape together 2 middle of the infield bats or middle of the order infielders, so be it. Because more often than not, those outfielders are going to fill your flex spots anyway. So draft the best collection of hitters, I think, regardless of position, as long as you meet, the minimum kind of thresholds.
Thank you. I agree. Yeah, the handsomeness is just off the charts here. All right, so Javier goes. Thank you. It's about time. I was tired of seeing Javier in my queue. That's my favorite pick of this tournament here.
He's begging him to get taken.
Oh, he's got a nice little Phillies thing going here. I'm putting Sheep.
That's a nice. Yeah. Immediately when I saw that, that's. So what are we thinking here? Bieber or Montgomery?
I think Bieber.
Yep.
Yeah, we can kind of start to like think about what our pitching rotation is going to look like. For me, looking at this team,
I really like Flaherty at the end.
I like Quintana. So. I like Quintana for the Pirates. Okay. Equity.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, you can just go shove it. No, I'm just kidding.
I pray every day that Ben Cherington stubs his toe, gets a hangnail for trading our best pitcher to our division rivals. Yeah, the Lance McCullers. I take Lance McCullers as well. I was big on him before I knew he was hurt, and I was drafting him a lot in best ball. And I think I still have one share left, hanging on for dear life. But I do like Quintana here. So and McKenzie. So we do have some options here. If we wanted to make this a 5 pitcher rotation, we absolutely could.
What are you thinking, Chris, on this next pick?
Sheep kind of laid it out there. I was thinking we want either one of Javier or McCullers as Jordan plus a pitcher to get us through.
Okay, interesting. I like that.
But that, up up to us. The other thing, what did we just talk about? 5 pitchers. I think this is a 5-pitcher build.
I agree.
Yeah.
So
with the way we took heavy hitter early, for sure, 5-pitcher build.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
And just reading the board here, I think 3 pitchers is the most I would take from a team. And seeing Sheep with 3 Astros guys makes me think he probably wouldn't take McCullers, but McCullers, like, he's a guy that could go out and pitch 5 innings but strike out 12 dudes, and then
he's got the highest ADP in our queue. Are we thinking McCullers, or do we want to go? Let's stick with it. Let's stick with it. Okay, so now we were saving ourselves 2 more pitchers here. I would like to take maybe 1 more outfielder here, and the way that I'm kind of thinking here is like this last outfielder is Lars, and we say Cardinals for sure get there, and then like and they're ripping and they're tearing, and we get either Guardians there with them or Astros there with them, and we've kind of made our mini bets there, and then maybe if we want to do McKenzie, like I could be talking to McKenzie, but I'm between like 2 out of these 3 along with Lars rather.
Lars loot bar, baby.
That's literally what my brain just said.
I will say one thing about
anything to like add to that, like is that like you think that
3-team stacks?
Sorry, I was like lagging. Okay, so we're what are we thinking? Do we want to?
I'm good with Lars.
I want to. Yeah. I think these guys are all going to be there. So let's just add this in. It kind of helps paint the picture a little bit clearer for us. So we are going to want more Cardinals here, but now we've got like our 2 Cardinals here, and then we're taking either Jose or Jordan with us to the World Series along with either Shane or Lance. And then I think so we've got, I believe, 3 more picks, right? Yeah. So
yep.
I would probably say, like, I'm going to plant my spamming me. I'm going to say probably Jose for sure. I really want Jose. I think he's been pitching well. And then from there, I could be talked into either Gumby or McKenzie. What do you think would make more sense here?
You go ahead.
I think I like McKenzie.
Yeah.
The only problem is I do like having 3 pitchers from our like one side of the draw stack team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at that point, it's almost like it kind of makes it moot, right? To have like taken the Astro a little bit. So we do need at least 1. Well, let me just get Quintana. Let me just get that out of the way. Hopefully, nobody snags McKenzie. And then once we do that, then I, obviously want to take 1 more batter here. I guess it doesn't really matter if it's outfielder or infielder, like we were talking. But I think it's like, I'm pretty sure Mancini's gone, right? Like he goes nowadays. No, come on, man. What are we doing? Why does nobody like Trey Mancini? Why am I the only one that's like advocating for him until Sheep goes and takes him? This to me, I just don't really understand. Is he like not playing a lot? Like, yeah, I guess he hasn't been in his last 10 games. He's
fucking Dusty's gonna Dusty, like the bane of my existence. Dusty Baker's lineups.
Okay, so he takes Wheeler. Or I feel like we got to commit to our wild card bit. I don't know. I love this. Let's just be a message to people that Trey Mancini goes.
I like Naylor. If we're gonna do it, I mean, we just talked about it.
Let's do it.
I like
let's do it. We gotta let's commit to this. This is my problem, right? I get a little, and then I end up like.
And then our next pick should either be Gumby, or I will still advocate for Flaherty.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, let me add him in here.
I mean, what would you do here? Would you do Montgomery or Flaherty? I like Flaherty for that upside, basically. Yeah, it's just what he could be.
The Wainwright and Quintana are very much the like steady pull the line guys that are going to get you something not too bad, but not too great. I think Flaherty has that level that he could get to. And I think here in this 3-team build, we would want, the third pitcher to be a Cardinal. The thing I will say about 3-team builds is you want to make sure that you can fill out a full World Series roster, regardless of the outcome, which I think we are good for here based on the way we've done. But you always just got to have that in mind.
Are you guys like not worried that Flaherty like might not have it this year based on like with his injuries and everything?
I mean, definitely that's on my, like, it's one of the things that I think Chris pointed out is he could literally go out there and give you zeros, or he could go out there and be the guy that you ended up needing and they hand the ball to in game 1. You know what I mean? Like, both are very realistic outcomes if you think, you know what I mean? Like, not realistic, but both can happen. So it's just for that upside. I think when you get into that 310 person final, if you're sitting there with Flaherty and he is Flaherty and they are that, then
you're doing backflips.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
You're not doing backflips if you're sitting. Maybe you are. Maybe Jordan Montgomery's that dude, but I don't know. That's just my thought, my 2 cents on that. So
yeah, no, I think that makes sense. Flaherty's going to be more unique. He doesn't have the ADP. Yeah, I like it.
Flaherty would be a 100% of my Flaherty team would be 5-pitcher teams. Like, he is not going to be a 4-person or 4-pitcher anchor like at all. Like, he's a guy that you're basically drafting a 4+1. You got 4 guys that you can count on, and then Flaherty is like the over the top if you really kind of hit the nuts here.
Yep, I love it. Yeah, that's perfectly put right there. I was going to say is maybe if we weren't going 5-pitcher and the way our team shaped up, then if you're going 4, then obviously you're most likely not taking McCullers and you're taking Montgomery there, and you're just sticking with 4 because you just have a little bit upside with that floor. But we can just look at those teams.
Damn, Sheep's team's so sick. If we want to look at his real quick, he went with the Houston Phillies stack. We're such assholes for that. I'm so sorry, bro. You still put together a monster team, but with Verlander, Tucker, Altuve, Fromber, Bregman, Bryce, Javier, Schwarber. How many pitchers? Is this a 5-pitcher team? It is. That's a 5-pitcher team as well. That's loaded. That's fun. Great job on that one with a one-off Max Muncy as well. Can't be too mad at that. And then geez. John was building Dodgers. He's tilting.
Yeah. No, he's not getting a Christmas. You're not getting a Christmas card from John there, Sheep. So just like we're not getting one from Sheep for our Jordan.
Yeah. No, this is a good room. This is a good room.
All 3 of us ended up with like a 2-team kind of ideal build, and then veered once for a potential difference maker. Like John's veering for Scherzer there at 17, which go for it. Like in that spot, like I'm down for Scherzer.
That's pretty late for Scherzer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure when I said that was when I saw he was potentially, so I said he's going to potentially fall back to that guy. I was like, that would be an interesting to get that DeGrom, Pete, and then DeGrom, Pete, and then have Scherzer fall all the way back to that 3 turn would have been something. So our boy Jay Warner Roto Run said, no, sir, I'm going to pull the bulliness out, and it's not happening. So
good. I'm glad. I would have felt pretty silly if he got that nut start that we didn't.
On that note, boys, we've been going we'll touch on this here. Yes, they are free. Indeed. What were their ADPs? If you just want, you don't have to pull it up, but if you just want to say them,
what are
if anyone has them handy?
Machado's 44 and Soto is also 44. So
yeah, they are. Yes, they are. They are indeed a free, and they're the Padres. So to say that they can't do it would just be stupid, because realistically, you can see in that wildcard series, the reason why they've advanced is Juan Soto and Manny Machado, just alone those 2 guys. So, and then they have Drury and they have Cronenworth, and we have, I guess, whoever's going to be leading off for them. They switch it up, but I mean, Yeah, that team is
Musgrove,
Bell.
Snell,
Yeah,
too.
Bell.
Like,
The pitching staff, you can just stack up so late. So the Padres are another great team. To touch on that, we will be back sometime, maybe next week, maybe early the week after. We will definitely have another stream coming your way, as we hope to get this content a little more, get people knowing that this content's out, fill these drafts. Hey, we appreciate it. Yeah, we appreciate this. We know baseball's a little smaller than all the other sports, but this is our shit. We are just we love it, especially Mr. Baseball himself. This is our stuff. So we will be back. I will be, courtesy of Chris's sheet. We'll be having a lot of that info in some team by team breakdowns that will be coming out on Spike Week. So you can go in there, check those out, check that sheet, refer back. Either way, we've been live way too long. Everyone have a great night. Yes, GG. Good night. Good luck. Have fun. Our boy Sheep. All the goodness. But from us here, have a great night, everyone. So it's been a blast.
See you guys.